Well, we got some bad news, folks. Ebola has now hit Europe. BBC is reporting Ebola in Spain. Nurse infected in Madrid. That means it's in the hospital. Somebody else has got it. Spanish health worker becomes first Ebola patient to contract disease outside of Africa. I tell you, this is a real bummer because this thing kills 90% of those that don't get proper medical treatment, about half of those that do. The fellow that brought it into the U.S. is fighting for his life right now, the AP is reporting. Yeah, I don't want these flights coming in from countries collapsing. Does that make me crazy? I guess it does. A nursing auxiliary in Madrid has tested positive for Ebola after treating a patient in the Spanish capital. That's somebody they brought in with Ebola, just like they're doing here, and now it's spreading. Who would have thought it? To Spanish newspaper El País, am I saying that right? El País. The case is believed to be the first in which a person contracted Ebola from a source outside of Africa. Yeah, well, you just know the other shoe's about to drop with this guy running around for a week, vomiting everywhere. Back from the epicenter, from outside the hospital, from at the apartment complex, is Joe Biggs, a veteran of Afghanistan and Iraq, now a veteran of Patient Zero in North America, in Dallas, Texas. Joe, you were there for 3 days with our intrepid cameraman, who's also seen some adventures, Josh Owens, while he's been here. Give us your take on what you witnessed and where you see all this going.
It doesn't look good. The CDC wants to tell you that everything's fine, but just that press conference that we went to shows the unprofessionalism that they have there in their ranks. The fact that I asked them, don't you think that we should be doing something about stopping the flights from West Africa coming in to America? And they laughed at me, and they thought that that was funny. I don't think that's a funny thing to joke about.
By the way, we should take that video, even though it happened last Wednesday, and post it right now with the headline, CDC laughs at stopping flights from Africa. Yeah. Because 3 days after you did that, they started responding, saying, quote, stopping flights would make it worse.
Yeah, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. How does it cut it off at the head and stopping it in its tracks, how does that make it worse? You know, if we don't fly it over here.
By the way, great job going and getting those questions in.
Yeah.
Because you had to fight through all those reporters. Please continue.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand their logic there, saying that stopping that is going to make it worse. I don't understand how that happens. But just the press conference, just the snide remarks from the people there that were talking. Like Governor Perry had nothing to say even about Ebola, really. I mean, it was just jibber jabber. He was there just as a political figure to parade around, to kind of take, I would say, the eyes off the subject, kind of in a sense. You know, it was just a big dog and pony show.
Well, I saw the video where they laugh at you. Why aren't you moving to shut down the flights? You notice Governor General isn't laughing. You notice everybody else isn't laughing. You notice the state governors aren't laughing and all these letters getting written. Why isn't our governor calling for that?
Yeah, I mean, and they were sitting there like, well, that's something that we can't do. I'm like, well, you know, you're the governor. You talk to the president. And regardless if anybody on this panel that's here today can do anything about it, every eye in America was watching.
That's total buck passing.
Yeah.
It's just other countries shut down the flights,
over a month ago.
And what are they doing bringing them in? Like Spain did it, it's now spreading.
Yeah.
And then no one's going to get in trouble. What are they doing bringing Ebola victims into our countries?
And then Governor Perry goes and says that Texas, the medical staff is the most well-equipped to handle this. Meanwhile, the person at the lowest tier level getting someone off the street doesn't even know to pass it up the chain that, hey, this guy just came in from Liberia. He's showing possible signs of, the Ebola virus, and they send him off with antibiotics. I mean, that shows if it happens at that low level and they're not giving that information and pushing it down to the first responders, we're all screwed.
It's unbelievable. Remember a month and a half ago when we warned of this, the national media attacked us?
They said we were crazy. They said that we were just conspiracy theorists out of our mind. And here it is.
Well, notice how they laughed at you, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we go down to the city council and we say, we don't want the city of Austin to try to ban guns in the city limits. And they laugh at us when they're trying. Or we don't want fluoride. Here's Harvard study. It increases cancer, lowers IQ. They laugh at us. Hey, we don't want you flying Ebola people into the country. Ha, ha, ha. That's all they've got is ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. It's this smart mouth, swarmy attitude.
ISIS isn't on its way. It's already here. Ebola isn't on its way. It's already here. Tyranny isn't on its way. It's already here. You know, this is crazy, the times we live in. And these are the people that are supposed to be doing something. Meanwhile, they're laughing, they're joking, they're not taking this serious. I think they have a huge ego problem. They're afraid to admit that this is something that can get out of control.
Well, yeah, because Obama said there wasn't going to happen. There was no fear, no problem, not likely. And now they're just like, oh, it's no big deal. It's not going to spread. Everything's fine.
Well, you know what's funny, though? They come out and say that these people who go to West Africa have the right to return. But meanwhile, we have Sergeant Morsi in Mexico. He doesn't have a right to return, and our government's not going to do anything for him.
Well, this guy isn't even a citizen that flew in.
Yeah.
And it turned out he had Ebola, knew he had it, and came here. Everyone but citizens has rights in this country now.
Yeah, that's true. We have nothing anymore. It's sad to say that we live in a time now in our own country where, as citizens, law-abiding citizens, we're now terrorists.
But ISIS gets rocket launchers.
Yeah, and they get free reign to go wherever they want. Illegals are paid, given bus tickets, and, you know, able to fly across the country without even any kind of identification whatsoever. I mean, like, it's like a
Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
What about this AP headline? Militants, FBI says, may be working on plan to strike U.S. FBI director warns of Khorasan attack, says that it's an imminent attack in the U.S. When they blow stuff up, or if they do, or shoot up a school, you know they're going to say we got to turn our guns in or something, or it'll be Liberty's fault. MSNBC had a headline yesterday, Second Amendment NRA to blame for Ebola, with no reason or why. So,
well, the Khorasan thing, too, though, was Obama's way of, because Obama, or was it a couple of years ago, said that we had already, you know, defeated Al-Qaeda, basically. And, you know, we've already suppressed that. We're done with them. So now they're using a different name to kind of, so he can cover his own tracks in a sense. And he doesn't want to admit, once again, because of his ego, that he was wrong about that. And he's overestimated everything. So they're giving it a new name. So it doesn't look as bad. So we can't say that I made a mistake.
This is cognitive dissonance, though, because they know the American people faced with something this monstrous. Open borders, government funding Al-Qaeda, government bringing in Ebola, government bankrupting the pension funds, government just trying to push us over a cliff. They're trying to wreck the country. The people that run the country want to bring us down while using us to build their world government, that when that's ready, they're done with us. So they're getting us ready. That's why everything they do is to shut the country down. Do you get it, folks?
It's, I can't stand to see where this is going. Like, every day I wake up and I have to read these headlines, and I'm just like, I can't believe this is real. Sometimes I pinch myself. I think I'm still dreaming.
Well, here's some good news. The British military came out and told their parliament, stop funding radical Islamicists, and that the West is behind this. Our own Joint Chiefs, I know, have been telling Capitol Hill that. So there is some good news that even the military brass, who are very political, understand this has gotten out of control. I mean, this has gotten out of control.
Yeah, on all fronts. I mean, you know, the border's open on the ground. We're leaving our airspace open for these flights to come in. It's a complete and total planned event. What
happens as 5 million people in Africa get it, as they're estimating, between 1.4 and 5, and they all try to flee here? We're just going to accept unlimited Ebola? Just come on in. But meanwhile, they got checkpoints on the highways. It's a joke.
Yeah. I mean, you see how quickly that one person affects so many people. You know, you shake someone's hand, you talk to somebody, you know, you get some people that are close talkers and spit when they talk. One person can affect 100 people. So this is why I thought it was so unprofessional at that conference that they were laughing at questions like that. Laughing. This is not a joking matter whatsoever.
Well, that's why everything's a joke. Abortion's a joke. Tyranny's a joke. Adulterated food's a joke. GMO's a joke. It's more than just a corrupt establishment. It's a bunch of trendies who literally have never been faced with anything in their lives, who just get paychecks and are lazy, and they think everything's funny, Joe. They don't know what the real world's like, I guess.
Yeah, they're firing officers in the military. Meanwhile, they're bringing in all these illegals that come in to join and be in the military. They're bringing in these voters. It's one big stage thing.
It's a bunch of lawyers and people looting the country.
Yeah.
This is a lawyer mindset of just screw everything up and then bill on both sides.
It's disgusting to see this. It's just, every day we go out here and we try to do what we can to tell people about this stuff, but there's so many people that just sit down and don't even pay attention. They won't wake up whatsoever. I just don't understand. With all this going on right now, this should be the largest awakening we should have right now in people with all this.
Well, I'm not putting folks in the 20s and 30s on a pedestal, but I knew my grandfathers and grandmothers. They were hardworking, smart, cool people who didn't take any crap either. And they knew how to skin a buck, run a trot line. They knew how to do electrical. They knew how to make cheese. They knew how to can food. They enjoyed working. And then I think about how I am lazy and pathetic compared to them. And I'm super hardworking and know how to do a lot more stuff than the general public. So, but I can see the degeneration. I mean, my dad, you know, grew up on a farm and a ranch, so he knows how to do everything. I don't know how to do stuff my dad knows how to do. And I think about my kids, and my kids are great compared to a lot of kids, but they don't know how to do anything. Just because I'm so busy, you know. My dad taught me how to live off the land. His taught him to be a businessman, to quote Hank Williams Jr. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I got of the old timers is how to shoot and fight, and that's about it. And I look at all these skills lost. 7 million people, major university studies, starved to death or died of complications from bad nutrition in the 10 years of the Great Depression. 90% were rural, most of them self-sufficient. We're now 90% urban. Of the 10% that are rural, half are self-sufficient. We have a collapse. We have a depression. We have a major Ebola or smallpox outbreak or something like that. Can you imagine what all these yuppies and people that just know how to play with their iPhone and act cool all day? Can you imagine when hell hits the fan, what it's going to be like with these people? All I got to say is thank God I'm sitting on a pile of guns and food.
Yeah, they're not ready for anything like that. I mean, like you said, most people don't have an attention span past the length of their arm because all they do is stare at their phone all day, all night, nonstop. If it comes down to fighting, they can't do it. You know, that's why drones are so popular. It's easy. You've taken that emotional connection away from combat, like how it used to be back in the day. You actually had to stab someone, you saw their eyes dilate. That's a life-changing experience. Now people can just push a button and then go on about their day, and it doesn't affect them.
I read about you in a magazine stabbing an Al-Qaeda guy. What was that like? Or was it a Connie guy?
Yeah. Taliban.
Why'd you stab him instead of shoot him? Just,
I don't know. I guess I was caught up in the moment, I would say.
What was it, you jumped off an armored vehicle on him?
Yeah.
What was the story?
Yeah, they were shooting at us, and I jumped up off the vehicle and ran up the hill, and I was trying to avoid being shot, you know, basically. And I snuck around and just gashed the guy right in the side.
Did it work pretty well?
Yeah. But it's like I said, when you experience something like that, you never want to see something like that ever again. You never want to go through anything like that again. And you try to tell people that it's the most horrific, horrible thing ever. You know, and that's why with these drones, that's what scares me, because you take that emotional connection away from seeing something like that. It's just like playing a video game. It's easy to push a button and then go home to your kids when that one button you pushed killed thousands of people. But you didn't have to witness that. You didn't have to.
Well, that's like Kurt Vonnegut, you know, was in the planes bombing, and then he was on the ground being bombed. So Slaughterhouse 5's about in Germany, a POW, being bombed by his own guys. And that was my dad's dad, you know, did his missions and then was on the ground going into Italy and Germany. And that was really freaked him out, was the starving kids and the bombed out cities and the dead people everywhere. And then, you know, really making the connection. Wow, I was in planes flying above bombing people just a month ago.
Well, that's what the crazy thing with what's going on in Syria right now. I don't understand why we didn't attack ISIL, whatever you want to call them, when they were storming into Iraq on that convoy. They were bumper to bumper. A couple coordinated targets could have taken them out. Now they're all in Syria, and they're in populated areas with heavy collateral damage. You know, we're not, this has nothing to do with ISIS. This is purely a regime change. They want to put in their own Western puppet that's going to play ball, and that's what they want. It has nothing to do with ISIS. That's just a beard. They want Syria. They've been wanting. And then the next thing, they'll move on.
They even have the Saudi ambassador admitting it. Oh, and then Biden goes, oh, we're sorry. You need to stop doing it. And they go, how dare you? And he grovels. They're all on TV admitting they're behind this. That's how dumb they think we are. Makes me want to throw up.
Our president will salute a Marine with a coffee cup in his hand. I mean, that's one of the things that I went on a rant for about 3 days. That infuriate. You know, I was just so mad. I mean, that's the most disrespectful thing. You're going to make decisions that put young men and women in harm's way. Meanwhile, you can't even give them the proper respect to take a coffee cup out of your hand and give them a salute. I mean, this is how, I mean, it's right here in front of your face. The president doesn't even care. Anybody?
It just sounds like a nation getting ready to fall to me. I'm going to say it right now. I really think the country's going to completely collapse. I mean, I really think everybody should have an exit plan. I'm going to stay here because it's worldwide collapse, but I just feel the yuppies are just going to tear us apart when everything collapses, and the inner cities are going to burn, and no one will even care about that either. We're just a nation we're like the Romans. In 410, they'd been sacked. They couldn't even get up and fight when the barbarians were coming in. They were laughing and, having sex parties as the barbarians came in and then murdered them all.
I mean, that's what they want, though. They've created such the next generations coming through. They're giving these bogus educations. The 2 + 2 is 5. When it comes down to a time when they really need to defend themselves, stand up and fight back, they're not going to know how to do it. And that's what they want.
Well, the number one crime is for a kid to fight back against a bully now, because they don't want you to know how to defend yourself.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, anything else you think is important that you witnessed in Dallas?
Just like I said, don't believe this hype that the CDC is saying that they have this under control. Being there firsthand, they're very unprofessional. They're not prepared for this whatsoever. So we as Americans have to prepare ourselves and do what we can. Like you said, a possible exit strategy, or just have things on standby, food, water.
Yeah, because other countries aren't going to let the Ebola people in.
No.
We are advertising, just like they advertise, if you're poor, come here, we'll pay for everything. They're advertising, here's where you come vomit. If you've got Ebola, you come hang your butt over America and just spewed Ebola feces all over us, and Obama wants that. I mean, I'm sorry to be gross, but that's it. You want to come vomit blood on us? We're here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry to be gross, but that's what it is.
Exactly.
We're a giant vomit bucket.
Pretty much. I mean,
America is an Ebola porta-potty.
Yeah. and it feels bad to laugh, but I mean, it's such a joke of what's going on. I mean, this is the biggest joke in the world, and people can literally go home right now and sit there and watch a TV and pretend like nothing's going on. Everybody right now should be mad.
Exactly. I hope it doesn't have a big outbreak. I hope nothing happens, but it just shows what's wrong with the establishment. Joe, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
We're going to come back, take a few final calls here, ladies and gentlemen. Before I go any further, I personally am filtering my water. I personally am getting sun. I personally am getting more rest. I personally am taking the Survival Shield X2, nascent iodine, the Silver Bullet, colloidal silver, the Super Male Vitality, the DNA Force, the Oxy Shield, all of it, ladies and gentlemen. The Oxy powder to flush out my guts. It is absolutely essential to do whatever you can to get healthy in these crazy times. InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. You can read about the benefits and more details of each product at InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. The very best products, the best prices, cutting edge, and it supports the entire transmission, so it's a win-win. Final segment, your phone calls, straight ahead. I didn't really get into Survival Shield X2 in the last segment, so I briefly want to talk about that. With all the madness going on in the world, I just know that I have my supply of Ultra Strength Survival Shield X2 for me and my family. Prepare ourselves. A few drops and you receive a powerful dose of key nascent iodine, the only type in the world. We have it, the crystal source. X2 comes from thousands of feet within the earth, and we run radiation tests before we even accept the pure raw iodine. It is totally pure. Turns into gas, folks, before we put it into the palm oil. It literally turns into gas. It's time to get prepared with Survival Shield X2 from InfoWarsLife.com. I take it every day. Secure yours at InfoWarsLife.com and store it in your preparedness pack or home cabinet. Take the Survival Shield X2 challenge today and support the transmission. Okay, Tom in Colorado, thanks for holding her on the air.
All right, I want to give people an idea that I had actually just today about Ebola. But before that, I have something that I really wanted to say about fluoride. And it, compared to Ebola, it's sort of like comic relief.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's a soft kill over time where they kill us slowly and enjoy it. The cancer, the IQ reduction, it's kind of 2 + 2 = 5. It's Common Core for all. It's chemical Common Core. But real fast, tell us your points.
Okay. Rappaport is one of the best people you ever have on, and something he did back in 2003. I've heard you mention this, that the SSRIs, Prozac, et cetera, contain fluoride.
Yeah.
But it's worse than that. They actually are fluoride.
No, I know. They control fluorine molecule, and that's what they attach the other arms to it from chemists I've talked to. Yes, it is weaponized, electrically active fluorine, basically.
Yeah, they call it fluoxetine, FLUO, admitting to you, like you said, it makes them happy. They're laughing at us.
It literally eats your brain. Yes, it's. They love us. They care about us.
It's a stupid pill, and I know it's very racist for me to, to say that, but...
That's right. You should get Ebola or you're racist. I got to jump real quick, brother. I got to get to everybody. Thank you, Tom. Eric in Texas, go ahead.
Yeah, Alex, good to talk to you. Look, it occurred to me a while ago when I was listening that this Ebola, when you start affecting your police and EMTs and all your infrastructure people, your public servants, there's another aspect of your asymmetric warfare.
That's it.
Now, one of my other points is, we should be getting really upset about the fact that I can't even live my life right now. I'm sitting here with my phone in one hand and my go, no-go gauge in the other hand checking ammo. This is not the way for Americans to be living. And I've had to spend money that I could have put cows on my land on other preparations. So, I agree with the earlier caller that said we need to get a coalition of lawyers and military and whatever other forces we can get together, and we need to take these people out of office.
Well, I know this. Letting a bunch of Ebola people into the U.S. is treason. Nobody else does it. Our government is a bunch of scum at the top. And that's and then they're going to... It's just going to be hellish. And they're all going to fly off in their jet airplanes while the low-level government people have to literally face an Ebola pandemic. God bless you, Eric. Great points from Texas. We're going to come back in a little bit of overdrive. Infowars.com/show to find the free feed. Some stations don't carry it. Nightly news tonight, 7 o'clock. We'll have more, 7 o'clock Central. I didn't get to this, but we'll cover it on the nightly news tonight, 7 o'clock Central, prisonplanet.tv. Cop threatens to take man's baby to children's services over refusal to show ID, but Ebola patients can run around anywhere they want. Claims nervousness is probable cause for warrantless search arrest. More jails refuse to hold inmates for federal immigration authorities. So the jails have all filled up and are pouring out. That's LA Times. Because the government's priority is taking money out of old ladies' wallets. Gennaro in Arizona, thanks for holding. You're on the air worldwide.
Hey, Alex, how you doing?
All right, brother. Thanks for calling.
Listen, I just don't understand the Americans in this country, how they can listen to the audacity of the director of the CDC, Thomas Frieden, for the past month, go up in front of Congress and on national television and cause panic by continuously saying how out of control Ebola is in Africa, and then in the same breath say nothing to worry about, banning air travel into the U.S. would make Ebola worse.
That is a fantastic point. So fantastic, I started stuttering. We should get his earlier press conference clips saying Ebola's out of control and then cut to him saying, let the flights come in. That's how you stop it. Set your house on fire. It's how you don't burn it down. It's just, why do you think he's so over the top?
This whole entire thing, I had a revelation today. I don't know. It just came to my mind that their end game, eventually Ebola will go airborne, and they will all of a sudden have the Ebola vaccines ready to give out. And because it's airborne, it'll have to be vaccines that are mandatory. And what better way to have them mandatory but than to bring in martial law and quarantine everybody in their homes, and they can vaccinate you in your homes, and they have martial law in place. And if you refuse to take the vaccine, well, you know what? We have FEMA camps we can bring you into for 21 days. And then those people in the FEMA camps will have to stay. I mean, it's just such a perfect plan.
No, that's it. And it might even be next year it goes airborne or a year later. They get the vaccine in place. It's ready. There's all this fear. And then, oh, we've got it. And, oh, you've got to take it. That's been their past program. I really agree with you. I think that's in the cards big time. Great points. Good to hear from you. Ron in Canada, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, how you doing?
Good, brother.
Hey, just give me a story for 2 minutes, Alex. Just want to make a couple of points, okay, about Ebola?
Yeah, we got 2 minutes till the show's over. Go ahead.
All right, okay. So here's what they're doing. They're consuming all this bush meat down there in Liberia, right? And they're spreading this Ebola. It wouldn't have been a big problem. I'm out here in Canada. We've known they've had that Ebola out there for a long time, but it was never a problem until they started letting them all in. These guys are virtually sleeping. They don't know what's going on. Obama is nothing but a gigantic puppet controlling a whole bunch of other puppets, and they're all asleep too. He can do basically virtually whatever he wants. and that's what he's done. I believe Obama to be a Muslim extremist. He's taking control of the country, asymmetrical warfare, exactly like you said. I've been a long-time listener of your show. I love you. You are amazing. I totally agree with all your points about Obama, El Bozo. This is an attack. He's controlling ISIS because he's Muslim. The White House is a control center for ISIS, and he's the leader. And I believe
well, I mean, listen, here's the deal. Whatever he is, by default, it is the controlled center for al-Qaeda. And by default, he is operating as the Grand Imam, the Mahdi. And I've said that. And I used to disagree with Glenn Beck and all those people. But now, for all intents and purposes, they are creating the clash of civilizations to bring in a world conflict that Albert Pike talked about in 1877. And it's off the charts. I appreciate your call. Sorry to Andrew, Paul, Tom, and others. I'm out of time. Great job to the crew. Great job to the affiliates, our listeners, sponsors, everybody. Please pray for InfoWars. But pray for peace. Pray for all the children out there. Pray for the innocents. And pray for a mass repentance and a wake-up, and that our churches no longer be state-run operations, and that those preachers repent of being deceptive creatures. We just have to turn the tide here, and we can do that. Please support our local affiliates as well, and please support InfoWarsStore.com, all the great products there that help fund our operation. See you tonight, Nightly News.
Introducing the first proprietary oxygen-based intestinal cleanser, OxyPowder. Backed by real FDA-approved phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials. People are suffering from all kinds of digestive issues these days. All the toxins from the air, the food, the water, ultimately ends up in the gut or affects the gut. My main focus was to come up with a remedy for this, something that's safe and effective that anyone can take on a regular basis to keep their intestinal lining clean. My recommendation is to clean your intestines at least 2 to 3 times a week to prevent the toxic buildup from going into your bloodstream. Take your health into your own hands and start cleansing your body today with OxyPowder. Secure your OxyPowder today at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com.